everyone! Welcome to another round of Coworker Picks My TBR. I'm Shanleigh. This is Avvai. I'm choosing books for Avvai. How you doing? How you feeling?
Good. Excited.
Excellent.
Really excited.
So the rules here are that I pick 5 books for you to read over the next few months. You have to read at least 3 of them.
Okay.
And here we go.
Yeah.
So first book I'm recommending to you is something that I think I've talked about in at least 3 videos so far. So save me from myself. And I'm recommending to you In Other Lands by Sarah Rees Brennan.
Wow, it's so beautiful.
It is such... Okay, yes, it is beautiful. The cover doesn't really, I feel like, reflect the tone of the book, but that doesn't matter.
Look at all these. That's so cool. Nice. Okay. Okay.
So this is about a boy named Elliot. And he discovers one day that he's allowed, if he wants to go to school in a magical land that's sort of like parallel to our own, but in which mermaids and harpies and centaurs and warriors are real. And so he's just like, absolutely, yes, please, sign me the hell up.
Who would say no to that?
Right? And then just goes for it. And so this book sort of follows the next 4 years of his life. Like, it follows every year of, like, of him going back to school and him like sort of growing up progressively each year. So he befriends an elven warrior named Serene Heart in the chaos of battle, or just, you know, Serene. And it just goes from there. Elliot is one of my favorite characters I've ever read because he is, from the beginning, an asshole.
Oh.
He thinks he's smarter than everyone, he kind of is smarter than everyone, and he does not take the rules of this other land seriously in the slightest. Because he sort of takes a pacifist perspective on everything, but like aggressively pacifist. Okay. Where he looks at all the warriors who make all the rules and he's just like, cute, but like, no. And then decides to do his own thing and just pisses off everybody he meets. He desperately wants to meet a mermaid, and everyone's like, mermaids aren't what you think they are. And he's like, I don't care, I want to meet a mermaid. And it just is so good. There's, it's like political in some ways, it's hilarious in others, it's got a queer narrative to it. It's everything you could possibly need in one book. It's like an entire series in one book. So please read it, because I keep recommending it to everyone, and I feel like I just sound like a broken record at this point.
Yeah, no, totally. That sounds awesome.
So there you go.
Very exciting.
In Other Lands. So
nice. Okay, cool.
Thoughts?
You sold it really well.
Did the gushing work?
Yeah. Totally. Perfect.
All right. So then next up I'm going to recommend to you is Darius the Great is Not Okay by Adib Khorram. This is about a Persian-American boy named Darius and how he lives in America, he lives in Portland, but he never has really felt like he's belonged anywhere before. And like he likes Star Trek, he doesn't know how to speak Farsi, he loves tea, he's a little chubby, plus he's very open about the fact that he has depression. Okay. And then one day they find out that his grandfather, who still lives in Iran, whom he's never physically met before, is very ill, so the entire family picks up and goes to Iran. And he discovers, well, he doesn't really belong there either. He sort of learns a bit more about his family and what it means to be a boy in his own family. It's this really lovely kind of just slice of life. It feels like it's just like a moment in Darius's life.
Nice. And
like his life will continue on from this point.
Yeah.
And he's not really changed irrevocably from the events of this book, but he also kind of is.
Oh, okay.
It's like a slice of life, but with a lot of depth to it.
Cool.
And yeah, I read it so quickly. And again, I'm a slow reader, and it just sort of swallowed me up. This whole idea, the relationships involved in it, it's just really lovely and really smart, and just is a gorgeous contemporary. So I thought to like break up the amount of fantasy that I have for you here.
Nice.
I'd give you something that
this is great. I love books where, like characters are kind of dealing with like living in like 2 different cultures and things like that. So very relatable.
Yeah, and it's very much about that. And it's also one of the most realistic, I think, depictions of depression, because it's not like, you know, a big thing or like one moment in his life and it goes away. His depression, like, again, he talks about it all the time throughout this book, but it's sort of like an underlying current throughout, which is what depression is. It's so well done.
Nice. Well, I'm really excited for this.
One of my definite recent contemporaries, and it's just so good. Yeah. So then next up, this one I'm a little nervous that you've already read, but I'm going to do it anyway. So what I'm recommending to you is Have you read it already?
I don't know.
Okay. What I'm recommending to
I can't
you...
see the book.
Fair.
She's so good at hiding it.
What I'm recommending to you is the classic, the fantastic, the perfect, the ineffable, Good Omens by Terry Pratchett and Neil Gaiman.
I have not read this.
Thank God.
Yes.
Okay. So, I think the best way to describe this book is, in the beginning, capital T, capital B, the beginning, there was a snake named Crowley, who then changed his name to Crowley, or Crowley, depending on your accent, but I'm going to say Crowley. Mm-hmm. And there was an angel who had a flaming sword, who then later gave it away, named Aziraphale.
Okay.
And they've been here on Earth from the beginning. Okay. And they've just sort of been, like, following through all of humanity up until this point. And over the years, they've sort of become acquaintances, friends, possibly more, depending on what fanfic you read. And they both kind of just really like their existences here on Earth. They don't really want to mess it up. Until Lucifer decides, hey, I think it's time to get this Armageddon show on the road, and gives Crowley his son, the Antichrist, and is like, whoa, switch this out with the child of the ambassador's, to the American ambassador's son, and let's get this party going.
Wow.
And Crowley's like, no. So then him and Aziraphale sort of team up and decide to raise this kid, the Antichrist, as completely neutral. Mm-hmm. So that when the day comes, maybe nothing will happen. Maybe they'll be able to delay the inevitable by at least another decade. Until they find out that on this boy's 12th birthday, when a hellhound is supposed to show up and, like, kickstart the whole Armageddon thing, he doesn't show up. Because they've been raising their own kid the whole time.
Oh. Whoa.
And there you go.
Wow. There's so much going on.
There's so much going on, and honestly, that was also just the surface, because there's, like, so many other elements and storylines and narratives that happen in this book. It is one of my absolute favorite books, and in my controversial opinion, possibly one of the greatest books ever written.
Wow. I've been wanting to read this for a really long time, so I'm happy that you recommended it.
Excellent. And then when you read this, you could potentially just, like, power through the miniseries that just came out, because Michael Sheen and David Tennant as Aziraphale and Crowley, perfection. Honest to God, perfection.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for this. Also, I have never seen this cover before. This is such a beautiful version that you have.
Thank you. Yeah, it is. I think it's a UK cover from a few years ago.
Yeah.
I had to get it because my original copy of Good Omens, I read it so much,
wow,
and in the sun, that it fell apart in my hands. So I had to get a second book to give to other people to read.
I'm really, really excited for this. Wow. Wow. Okay.
There you go. So then next up, we're going super fantasy.
Whoa.
And what I'm recommending, again, this one's a big one, A Face Like Glass by Frances Harding. Okay. Frances Harding, I think, is more well known for a book she wrote a couple years ago called The Lie Tree, which won a bunch of awards. She's a UK author. She's fantastic. She's not, I don't think, super well known over here, but she should be, because she's got an amazing imagination and an impeccable sense of writing. So this one sort of takes place in an underground world called Caverna. And in Caverna, people are born with faces that are just blank, and they have to sort of pay these people called face smiths to learn emotions. But they're not genuine emotions. They just learn how to hold their faces like that. It's sort of like they can put on a face the same way that we put on clothing.
Okay.
And so what this sort of breeds is a world of incredible deception and maliciousness, and you just can't trust whatever anyone is saying to you, because you can't tell if what they're saying is what they're feeling, because it doesn't show on their face, because they can put on whatever they want.
Oh.
It's a very tricksy world.
Okay.
And in this world, there's this girl called Neverfell. And
great name.
She has to keep her face covered at all times, because unlike everyone else in this world, she shows exactly what she's feeling, and she feels things with such passion that it actually frightens people.
Oh.
And this is just sort of like the beginning. It's the most imaginative fantasy I think I've ever read in my life. And it's also sort of in this, like, weird middle ground between, like, middle grade and teen. I guess it's, like, more of a tweeny fantasy, because it's very high concept, but very accessible. And it just sort of blew me away the first time I read it.
So exciting.
It's so, so good. She really should be more well-known here. I don't think she is. The Lie Tree was big, but this wasn't. And this was published before The Lie Tree. And sort of republished here with a beautiful cover.
Nice.
So there you go.
Excited for this. Wow.
It's big, so I'd understand
Shanleigh,
if you don't.
You are just killing it. Like, this is so great.
Oh, stop. I will warn you that the first 50 pages are a little dry, because there's a lot you sort of have to know about the world before they can dive further in.
Yeah.
But if you can just, like, muscle through that,
sure,
you'll be rewarded with something that's truly amazing.
Okay.
And then because I gave you a huge ass book, I'm going to give you a little graphic novel. And by little, I mean a terrifying horror graphic novel called Through the Woods by Emily Carroll.
I've been seeing this around. I've been really wanting to read this.
Oh god, it's one of my favorites. She's one of my favorite graphic novelists, I think, ever. This is actually an anthology book. So there's about 5 different horror stories throughout that she wrote and illustrated herself. So they're all sort of disconnected, but also connected together in like a similar sort of tone and vibe.
I love that. That's so
it's
exciting.
So good. It's so good. It's slightly disturbing in some ways, and she just has an impeccable sense of color. Like, unlike a lot of, I think, horror things, she uses color, like bright, vivid colors to sort of just like throughout all of her stories. And it's so just beautiful. Wonderful.
Yay!
I will say, depending on like your level of horror threshold, maybe don't read it at night, because I read it at night, and I like horror, and it freaked me out because each one I think sort of like builds on the previous. So at the end, you're just sort of like a bundle of nerves.
Oh, this is so exciting!
So there you
go.
Those are my recommendations.
Thank you. And also, like, I just want to listen to you talk about books like all day. Like, that was amazing. That was just like an experience.
Thank you. I hope I didn't give away too much. I have no idea if I do or not.
No. That's great. Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy that you're excited.
Yeah. This is great. I love when people just like give me books and tell me to read it. It makes my life. Like,
and now you gotta do
easier.
it for your job.
Yeah. It's great.
I know. Well, we'll be filming a wrap-up video in a few months once you've been able to power through some or all, TBD. But if you guys like this video, be sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe for more weekly videos. Happy reading, and thanks for being awesome. Bye-bye.
Bye.